Hello and welcome to livealittlehigher.com. This week we continue in our series of Shalom Bayit, talking about Jewish fashion, Jewish modesty, explaining you a little bit about what it really means and why it's so important. So last week we were talking about who do we represent. When we dress, we're representing something. And this is a question we should ask ourselves. Who do I want to represent in this world? And sometimes we're dressed as doctors because that's our profession, as nurses, as businessmen, as lawyers. But really, this is not who we represent. This is just a trait we have in life. This is our job. But it's not who we represent. So who we really represent, or we should really be representing in this world, is HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is to represent God. Because we do have a spark of Him inside of us, and He put us in this world to do part of His job here, to do Tikkun Olam, to repair the world with our acts of kindness and love and goodness. And when we are dressed for the job, then we have a much bigger impact in the world as if we weren't. So here we're discussing how we are godly and how does it come to be that our neshama is enclosed in our body, and that we are really not our body, we're not our personality, we are not our job, we're not even what we think. We are really a godly soul. That's who we really are, and the body is a house for it. And however we live our lives, it's an expression of what we are housing inside of ourselves. But sometimes people are expressing themselves in the wrong way, and they're not being able to reveal that inner spark that they have inside. So most of us define ourselves by how we look, by what we do, by what we like, by what we believe and what we support. And sometimes we think this is who we are. So imagine that we sometimes even define ourselves by how people look at us. And people with very low self-esteem, they would think that that's who they are. Like a child that's always been mistreated in their home or in the school, he has been bullied, and has never been able to feel good about himself because people around him make them feel awkward and not good. He's gonna define himself by that. Sadly, we see in our society a lot of aggressive human beings that go out and do horrendous crimes. But if we look at their history and we look at their life, most likely these people were highly abused when they were kids. They were very much mistreated, and they end up being people full of hatred, and they up doing things that really are not in their core essence, because it's become so soiled and so trapped in a different reality that they cannot really even come to tap into who they really are, which is a godly spark of God. So if you're a model and you're beautiful and gorgeous and you're doing all the fashion weeks in New York and you're in every magazine, that's wonderful. But what happens if you have a baby and you gain 50 pounds and suddenly nobody wants you in the job? How are you gonna feel? Do you feel this is you? What defines you is that you were in the fashion week or in the magazine, or you're more than that. And that's what's new. That's what living in a way in which we dress in a modest way really allows us to tap into that inner self, into that part of us that is inside of us, and not so much in the external of our life. So Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan, who was an incredible Kabbalist, he passed away at a very young age. He wrote a book called Inner Space, and in that book, Inner Space, he speaks that the Kabbalistic thought of God is called nothingness. For God is beyond our understanding and can be never understood. Like Hashem is really beyond our scope. He's infinite. So we can never really put Him into any form or any shape or any size, because we cannot define Him. We cannot put Him in a box. He's more than that. So he's known in Kabbalah as nothingness, and in Hebrew, nothingness is Ain, which is Aleph Yud Nun. And when rearranged, these words are rearranged, they're permutate to the word Ani, which means I. So the real me, the real ego, the real I is really nothing, because we come to the same. We're a part of God, we're a spark of Him. So within me, my soul really is a godly image of God. That's the way He can reveal Himself in this world, is through us, through our actions. So our deepest thoughts and feelings are part of that nothingness, and our inner core, our inner self really wants to connect to that part of us that is that nothingness. So the true measure of your worth is not in how attractive, how beautiful, how rich, how important, how intelligent you are. Really, that's not what measures your worth. But the true measure of your worth is in how much you are able to reveal the godliness in you. And part of the tzniut, of being modest, both for men and for women, is that the less you reveal of your outside, the more your inward is going to be able to come out. The more exposed you are, the less of that inner beauty that you have can be seen in this world. So according to Gila Manelson, who wrote a beautiful book called Outside Inside that talks about modesty, she says your soul is what you want to blossom. It's what you want to blossom and shine. Ironically, you don't accomplish that by highlighting it. So the more you cover yourself, the more it's gonna be revealed. The more revealing you're gonna be, the less that part of you is gonna be able to come out. So when you do good things, like for example, you go visit a sick person, or you give a big check for a tzedakah to a place, or you did a good deed, it's also not modest to be telling everybody what you do. Like, oh, today I visited this poor child in the hospital, or I did this, or I did that. That's also part of not being modest. Like, modesty is also to try to cover the good you do. Because if you're exposing also all these good things that you do, and everybody's looking at you and saying, oh wow, Wonder Woman, whatever, that also is gonna be, you're also gonna be drawing a lot of attention towards you. So really, modesty means to not draw attention to you. It's to cover it. So the Torah teaches us that we should be attractive, but we should not be attracting. It's two different things. Like, a woman should look beautiful. There's nothing wrong with a beautiful woman, like nicely groomed, nicely dressed. There's nothing wrong with it, but she should not be someone that is attracting. Like, for example, if you go to a party and everybody's dressed in black, and suddenly you walk in with this yellow, red dress, obviously everybody's gonna turn around and look at you. So we try to keep ourselves down, very elegant, very nice looking, but not that, oh, look what just came in. You know, that's the idea, that we have to try not to be so attracting. So your soul is your essence, and you have a body, you have abilities, you have a personality, you have things you believe in, but this is not you. This is not what you are. You are your soul. This is who you really are, your neshama. And that part of you is eternal. It's part of God. It's never gonna die. It's gonna be forever. So dressing in a way that doesn't reveal your body parts draws attention to your personhood, to who you really are, and to your inner self. So how do we change our consciousness when the world is screaming at us, reveal yourself, wear the ripped jeans, wear the mini skirt, wear the high heels, wear this, wear that, wear the yellow dress? How do we come to terms with a world that is screaming at us from every corner? Everywhere we see, we're looking at these outrageous looks, and how people are ending up wanting to look like that. How do we are able to conquer that part of ourselves? So the first thing that that Gil Mandelson teaches us is that first we have to develop a soul perspective, and we have to ask ourselves, what am I wearing? What I'm wearing, does it detract or enhance who I'm inside? Like when you're dressing yourself up, does it detract from who I really am, or is it attracting things that I shouldn't be attracting? And our actions actually are affected and affect our feelings and the way we behave because of the way we look. And really, if you look at it, when you see people that are dressed in rags, they look like rags. When you see a person that is well groomed and well dressed and clean cut, he's more likely gonna act in a proper way. So the intention that we put into our life really is working from inside out. But sometimes it's not so easy to work with the intention. Sometimes we have to work from the outside in and start with our actions. So the way we decide to act is gonna change the way we're gonna feel inside. So there's a famous story, to finish off, of a man that was very evil, and he wanted to marry this beautiful girl from a town. And she was a very kind girl, but she didn't want to marry that guy because he was not a nice man. He was really not a nice man. So he decided to go and make himself a mask of a beautiful, nice face, of someone that looks very, very kind. And they did a perfect mask, and he put it on, and he started going out with her, and she really fell in love with this kind man, and she married him. So for many years, this man had this mask on, and he was behaving in a way that looked that he was a kind man. And one day, a person that knew him from his olden days knew the truth, and he felt that he had to reveal the inner truth of this guy, and he went to his house and he tried to take off the mask to show the wife that she had married a hoax. So when he took the mask off, the face of the man had transformed into the face of the mask. So he became a good man. He became a kind man. Why? Because for many years he was acting as a kind man. So this is the idea of the outside inside idea, that when you act in a certain way, fake it till you make it, that's who you become. I know that for many people it's very hard to cover themselves. It's very tempting to be showing skin in this world, because really when you're a beautiful woman and you're showing things, you feel like people are looking at you and appreciating you, and you think it's raising your self-esteem. In reality it's not, because it's a fake one. But if we are able to internalize these ideas that we have a soul and the body is a house of the soul, and that we have to treat it with respect, and we have to dress in an according way in which we are able to house that soul, that spark of God inside of us, and we're able to go out into the world and not be attracting but attractive, and we try to start internalizing this and living up to it, we're gonna come to feel it. I remember when I started dressing more modest, I began by wearing skirts, and every day that I went shopping, I would buy more and more skirts and less pants. And one day, the only pair of pants I had in my closet was an old pair of blue jeans that were like baggy jeans, and that these were the only ones I wore, because you become very self-conscious about your body when you start covering up, and you realize, then you start feeling like this is not comfortable. You start feeling it because you become sensitive to spirituality. You become sensitive to it. But when we're not conscious about it, then we're insensitive to it, and we don't see it, and we don't feel it, and we don't see anything wrong with it. So the way to do it is to really want to be a person that can express his inner self in this world, that you want to be looked as more than a beautiful face and a beautiful body, that you want to be more than that. And when you really want to live in that way, then God gives you the strength to do it, and little by little you're going to start feeling more in tune with your soul and less with your body. That's what it is. So I want to leave you here. I want to wish you a good week, a happy weekend. Remember, live a little higher. Thank you.